Okej, czy są tu jeszcze jacyś gracze, widzowie, którzy chcą oglądać StarCrafta? Słuchajcie, grupa B powolutku będzie nam się zbliżać do końca. Zostały tylko jeszcze 2 rundy gier i będzie wszystko jasne. Na ten moment, jeżeli tak jak patrzę w rozpiskę, jeszcze sporo graczy będzie walczyć o drugie i trzecie miejsce. Wśród nich są oczywiście Polacy, ale teraz przed nami 2 doskonałych graczy, którzy również mają na pewno chrapkę na to, żeby wyjść z grupy. Zapraszam do siebie Blaja. Duże brawa! I zapraszam również Lucifrona. Welcome again on the stage, guys. I have actually the same question to both of you as we are getting close to the end of the group stage for you. How do you feel yourself? Do you think you can still make it? How do you find your strength against the opponents you will please still have to play?
I have 2-1 score now, and it's all about that game. If I win it, I'm probably past the group stage, and of course I will do my best to take those games. At least I don't care about the score, I just need to win it.
Lucifron, how about you?
It's basically the same for me. I have to win 2-0 if I want to advance, so these are the most important games for me now, so I will just play my best.
Tak jak słyszeliście, najważniejsza gra zarówno dla Blaja, jak i Lucifrona. Duże brawa dla nich. Good luck, guys!
Bly versus Lucifron coming up, another ZVT. How do you think this is going to play out on Cloud Kingdom?
This map plays out like a lot of other maps. There's not too much like kind of interesting or uniqueness to it. It's just a pretty solid general map. One thing that is important to note as both players is the Zerg can plant an Overlord basically over your natural. There's that cliff there, and they can get a lot of information. It can be very hard to move out and do some surprise tactics. So usually the Terran player is playing a little more safe, a little more general. He's not going to be like, okay, let's just take all the SCVs, let's just go right now, because Zerg will see it coming and they'll be able to react appropriately.
I love those cliffs, man. All right, any thoughts, Todd, on the ZVT?
I'm no expert on the matchup, but I like the maps. Cloud, Daybreak, and Tomb. These like no maps that will feel kind of imbalanced in this matchup. Or like, do you agree, QXC? Like, if you had to play against Bly on those maps, how would you feel?
I think they're okay maps. Usually people think that Daybreak is Zerg favored. It's pretty easy to take a 4th and a 5th base and then tech up to that hive tech, kind of like we saw in the previous ZVT with Lucifron versus Tefl. But it's got other aspects that are good for Terran as well. So it depends on who you ask in terms of Daybreak. And
okay.
Entombed is... I actually prefer Entombed. The rocks between the natural and the 3rd give you a lot of opportunities for Hellion harass, Banshee harass. You can make it very hard for the Zerg to actually take that base. So I think Entombed is a good map for Lucifron.
Do you know about Bly's style against Terran?
Not really.
Okay. And Lucifron?
Well, we just saw Lucifron play against Tefl. I guess he's been doing bio more recently. I've seen a number of Lucifron's games in the past. I actually am a big fan of his mech. From what I saw, his mech seems like one of the best I've ever seen. And so I would really like to see him mech during these games. I would like to see him avoid bio. I don't, from what I've seen, I don't think it's nearly as strong as his mech play.
Well, we heard it from himself. He has to win 2-0 Lucifron, or else he's out. A lot on the line for him here. They're in the game. The game is loading. We'll go over to the casters. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Jarrett, QXC, and Todd, and we're just about ready to jump into this game for you. It's going to be a great game between these two players, and as they mentioned on stage, it's a must-win for both of them. Obviously different outcomes. If Bly wins, he's guaranteed to move through pretty much with 3 wins to 1 loss. Lucifron, if he needs to win, otherwise he's going to be out.
Exactly. Lucifron currently the 1-2 score in the group. He really needs to win right now. And he already lost to another Zerker that we had in the same group against Tefl. He was not able to take the best of 3, only won a single map. And now he's up against Bly, who has been playing really strong today so far.
That's right. And there is Lucifron. and ready to play this game, ready to bring the thunder against Bly because he needs to. This is a very important game. If he doesn't win, he's facing an elimination, and that, obviously, nobody wants to face that on day one of the main tournament.
He's definitely one of the strongest Terran players that we now have in Europe, and he is up against a Zerg player. He's up against Aces Bly. And let's see what Bly is able to do against his Terran opponent here. He needs to win right now. If he wins, then he's basically already guaranteed that he will move on to the next phase of the tournament. And now heading into the game, to the top right of the map, we have our Terran player in red. It is, for Current Gaming, it is Lucifron. Starting to the bottom left of the map, we have his opponent here in Cloud Kingdom, map number 1 in the best of 3. Starting for Team Acer, it is Bly.
Some players need a kick in the balls sometimes, Kaldor, to be able to play at their very best. That's what Lucifron's had so far, with 2 losses already. Bly, though, with this very unorthodox drone scout, looking a long way around.
The thing when Bly drone scouts like this, you never really know what he's up to. He's one of those players that is really cheeky. He was the first one who started this strategy against Protoss with the Spinecrawler rush and a fast tech to layer, which surprised quite a lot of opponents. And we heard it earlier, the Parting mentioned that he looked at that build and taught it to Curious, and Curious used it to defeat Puzzle. So a very innovative player who is not afraid to just do something completely crazy.
I completely agree with that there. And I also agree with what QXC said before the game started. I would really like to see Mech come out in this game. I think it could be really important for Lucifron to be able to pick up the series. As he said, Lucifron's mech in previous tournaments, including the Intel Extreme Masters, has been absolutely fantastic. His micro, his ability to just go ahead and expand whenever he wants. He takes control of the game when he plays mech. But unfortunately, not just of the game we saw before, but when Lucifron plays Bio, it seems that he's a little bit more on the back foot, a little bit more reacting to his opponent rather than commanding and really showing how the game should be played out.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that you can see if you look at Lucifron's statistics is that historically speaking, it's his weakest matchup against Zerg, but he has a 57% win ratio, and then you just go down the match list, and of course you have those losses against Tefl, and you have a few others, 1 loss against Lenok, but just in general, he was able to beat Scarlet, he was able to take down opponents like Gosu User, Hanfi, he took down his own brother at IEM Katowice, the qualifier.
Yes.
And he has, with his brother being a Zerg player, being a very strong Zerg player, just the best opportunities to practice for these tournaments.
That's such a good point to bring up. The amount of games that Lucifron has played with his brother, but it's not just games you play with him. It's the losses that he occurs so often, and the fact that he can speak in Spanish, he can talk to his brother alone, and Vortex obviously helps him out. He says, well, if you'd done this differently here, then this is where my weak point really was, and you don't really have that connection with anybody else. You can have a best friend, but brother's connection is stronger than anything else, and we'll see if Lucifron can really grasp that together, pull it together, and be able to beat Bly here.
I completely agree with what you just said, and this is also just a great setting that we have here in Poland, Katowice. We had a couple of tweets on Twitter already where people and players just mentioned that they have been at venues where there was a huge crowd, but they are so close at this point to the audience, and this definitely adds a lot of pressure to the players. They can see the huge audience that we have sitting here, so you have to be one of those tournament players that's able to deal with it. And right now we have Lucifron dealing with Bly's early aggression here with a couple of Zerglings on the map, and so far Bly didn't take any gas, is just sticking with the minerals and droning it up.
Yeah, this is as standard as you can get when it comes to playing Terran versus Zerg and Zerg versus Terran. We see no gas, and then all of a sudden Bly explodes with 4 gases at once. He's going to now start to upgrade, get speed, get 1-1 upgrades, get layer all at once now when this gas surge is in. On the other hand, Lucifron's playing very normal. 1 barracks expansion, double gas, get in the factory for the reactor Hellions, and then aiming towards the Banshees. Whether it will be Cloak or not, we'll have to find out. If he doesn't research Cloak, he may start to aim towards faster upgrades and use the gas that way. But if he does aim for Cloak, then he's going to obviously be wanting to get some damage done.
What you just said about Bly's style is that he goes for the lair take, and this is just so unique about him. He really loves to go for lair and for his tech before he adds the third base. We have so many Zerg players that just try to secure themselves a fast third as fast as possible, make sure that they have the better economy. But Bly is one of those who's not afraid to delay his third a little bit, just go for the tech, and that offers a lot of different tech structures for him, and also a lot more of different timings that Terran players suddenly have to deal with.
Well, Cheeky cancel there by Bly. I like that. Didn't waste those creep tumors, can easily deploy them once again. And he did manage to find out the information gathered, which is the third command center. So he should kind of know what's going on. With the obvious build of most likely Rector Hellion into Banshee, but he doesn't know Mech or Bio. And unfortunately for me and my buddy QXC, it's Bio this game.
It's definitely not going to be Mech from Lucifron. And Bly is also going for the +1/+1 upgrades, and he's researching the range upgrade for his roaches. So this is also a setup that Stefano uses to go into the Hydralisk push. And at the same time, you mentioned the Banshees earlier, he has those on the map, the Spore Crawlers, as a reaction of Bly. And I love his wall here. So many Zerg players lose because they don't position their queens at the wall. The Hellions move in, roast all the drones, and suddenly it's over.
There is so much cool stuff happening in this game right now. The way that Lucifron just destroyed those creep tumors, the way that we're seeing roaches and +1 missile attacks being researched. Are we going to see Bly? Hold that thought. That's a little bit unfortunate. That does fall down there. Good defense by Bly. But the question I was going to ask, are we going to see Bly play like Stefano did in the most recent Pro League games? And outside of that as well, are we going to see Roach Hydra?
I'm really curious to see that myself. Usually you really want to have extra gas as soon as you heavily commit to the Hydra attack. But for now he's completely happy with just sticking over the roaches and going onto the map. And here's the infestation pit. He doesn't drop the Hydra then. He goes for a roach infestor play now against Lucifron on this map. And so far, Lucifron with that Banshee didn't do too much damage. We haven't seen him. He took down a single drone. And Bly was just ready with his early tech, with the Overseer, with everything that he had positioned, and now suddenly Lucifron is losing that map control that the Hellions previously granted him.
And these 15 roaches aren't going to get the best results here. Obviously they're going to defend really well, but they're not going to get any aggressive results down. Lucifron has a tank out really fast actually, and Siege really fast in this game. And he did opt to get that so fast that he's not really going to die to any form of attacks. Two attacks like that, he is fine. And he's going to be fine to take a relatively fast third base shortly. He's going to be able to pick up and go down before we see Bly.
That's definitely true. But right now, look at all those Hellions dying to the roaches. Really nice positioning by Bly with his units. And there was no aggression by Lucifron. He has one single Hellion. Yeah, he can sneak into the base, but that Hellion is not going to kill any drones here. Maybe one if he gets lucky, but no, nice pull here by Bly. Well played. And yeah, you're right. No pressure by Bly. He knows that he can't do it. We have a nice wall. There's a bunker in there. Those added tanks that you mentioned. So for now, Bly's just happy to control the map, make sure that Lucifron doesn't do damage with the Hellions, and just preparing his next steps.
Well, these roaches are in for a surprise here. Those tanks are going to do a lot of damage, and they do decide to back out. So nice retreat there from Bly. We aren't going to see Roach Hydra. We do see the Infestation Pit and Pathogen Glands finish it up. And now we transfer over to the melee upgrade. So back to Ling Infester, back to really upgrade those Broodlings. And another poke here from Bly with these roaches. Gonna get an SCV or two without taking too much damage.
Yeah, so far we have 4 siege tanks for Lucifron. He has to be careful that he doesn't open himself up at his natural. So only one tank guarding the third base. The Marines a little bit too cheeky, trying to move forward. The Roaches closing the distance, trying to lure them into the range of the siege tank, but already a bit of damage done by Bly. And he's still sticking around, taking down this refinery and forcing the SCVs back.
Until this very point, I'd say Lucifron's played a very tight game, but unfortunately for him, there was a hole there in his real setup of his base structure. Bly exploited it, got in right behind that command center, dealt damage, delayed the gases, put pressure onto Lucifron, and that's really nice for Bly because behind this he's got his third base saturated, he's got a hive already on the way, and what we should be seeing, fourth base coming down as well by Bly, really looking to extend himself, increase that income, ready to face off against Lucifron, who we saw previously aim for a 2-2 timing, and 2-2 is on the way, and I suppose that's what he's going to be aiming for once again.
And of course the Terran play on 3 bases is just in a position, you can't hit this 2-2 timing. We see a lot of Terran plays depending on the map, just trying to stick it out on 3 bases, get the tech up, even heading into 3-3, and then with a really massive fourth, moving out on the map, trying to do damage. We haven't seen any draw play by Lucifron just yet, so far he's just sitting tight, looking pretty, trying to save those 3 bases, no aggression whatsoever after the initial Hellion attack failed.
And a few roaches do die here again. Is he going to scan? I don't know if he knows about that roach actually, but these ones are going to die relatively fast, and these roaches kind of throwing themselves away. There's the scan, and this roach is going to go down too, so good clear up by Lucifron. One thing that I'm a little bit worried about for Bly is the lack of creep spread around his 4th base.
Yeah.
Because that's where Lucifron's obviously going to go. An attack is going to attack towards the economy. That's where the economy is. And without that creep extending, it's going to be a lot easier for Lucifron to set up. It's going to be harder for Bly to engage. And we'll see if Lucifron's going to move. His 2-2's about to be done, and there it is.
He's moving out immediately. I love that Bly didn't really start the research for the Adrenaline Glands as soon as he hit tier 3 and is now heading into the additional upgrades. A lot of Zerg players actually missed those. But Lucifron now with the map presence here. And the point that you just raised is actually just such a good one. He has no creep spread at this 4th base, and you want to have this added speed bonus to your units. But he's set up in a jump, and now Lucifron suddenly starting with a split, and he needs it. But the tanks, they are exposed and they die immediately. Now suddenly it's only Marines. They try to do their best, but there are Zerglings everywhere. The funnels are being dropped. Bly, on the other hand, not with the best engagement after all. Loses too many infestors, and suddenly Lucifron with 160 supply against 160.
That's right, remember, we saw Bly open up with roach upgrades, so his melee upgrades are late, and then Lucifron hits with 2-2, and he does break through with the Medivacs. There was a massive stim before that engagement, so I was a little bit worried. The energy on the Medivacs is low as well, but he's broken through. He's hit the 4th base. He's hitting before the Great Aspire, and as QXC said earlier, that's what Lucifron aimed to do against Tefl. It didn't work there, but it seems to be working relatively okay here.
The big problem for him currently is that he just doesn't have lava. That's a big problem for him. No lava at this point for Bly. His injects apparently a little bit off here. That's one of the main reasons why he couldn't use all this extra minerals and gas that he had before the last fight happened. And now suddenly the 4th is gone. To the left side of the map, we have Bly with another attempt to get a 4th base. And a single siege tank taking down creep tumors.
And there's a lot of Marines there. These Lings got to be careful. And that one tank killing creep tumors gets picked off. So does an infestor there by a single Marauder. But Lucifron hasn't... I mean, he's killed the 4th base, that's good. He's got his own 4th base on the way. He's got his +3 down. He knows the Great Aspire is obviously coming next, and he has started his Viking production. Yeah. I don't think he can hit another timing, per se, as those 6 Brutals come out. I feel that he may have to sit back and try to defend, but we'll see. Lucifron's the player in the seat right now.
And it's still a big problem for Bly with his lava. He has the macro hatch in his main base and is hitting his injects well now, but he is always down to like 5 lava and not more. And if you go for this many Lings, that's going to be a problem. The siege tanks at the front, the Zerglings attacking them, the Marines lending their damage out. Well, don't, here come the funnels and the Banelings.
Oh, dearie me, Bly just kind of, you know, there's nothing left.
Yeah,
Lucifron just broke through again.
Lucifron with these splits in his micro, it's just way too much for Bly to handle at this point. A really great positioning of the Terran play. He does this so well, and now he has the Vikings in position. He still has those Medivacs. He's claiming a 4th base now. Bly really has to be very, very careful now because things are not looking good.
It's not looking good at all, and there's no Corruptors at all to kind of support these Broodlords. There's a couple of Queens, but they're just going to go down for free. One more volley. Oh, great transfuse. He's able to keep that single Broodlord alive consistently. Good defense there by Bly, but the real deal was Lucifron killing another base here. Another tank killing creep tumors, always good to best use of tanks, a great use of money, Caldor. Get rid of those creep tumors throughout the game.
And there's the 4th base now for Lucifron. Immediately he starts with those own missile turrets, trying to defend it and trying to set up the defense here. +3 attack is already done. He's heading into +3 armor. And Bly at this point, for those Zerglings, has +3 armor, +2 attack. Doesn't start the attack upgrade just yet, but heads into a massive amount of infestors now. Whereas he's still trying to make those run-bys happen, but it just doesn't work because Lucifron is covering all the angles.
I'm gonna say it bluntly here. Lucifron is pissed, all right? He is angry at the losses he's received earlier. He is claiming victory in this game, comes marching down. There is no infestors. There is nothing to stop Lucifron.
Yeah. He's moving in now. There are no funnels, none whatsoever. Where are those infestors? The Broodlords, they're struggling. Here come the funnels. The Vikings, though, taking down those air units one by one, picking them up. Bly dropping below 100 supply, and Lucifron doubling his opponent's supply, pulling his way up the ramp, going for the 3rd base. And Bly, it looks like he's going to lose base after base and the game in the end.
Yeah, look at this, just complete annihilation here. 100 supply difference between the 2 players. Lucifron showing his class here, down, looking dead, and now is able to pick up this game on Cloud Kingdom. There is hardly anything stopping Lucifron from steamrolling over Bly now. He's got no money left, he's got hardly any income, and also the switch coming in, it won't really do anything at all.
He can't really afford it either. I mean, he will be able to get a few Ultralisks out on the map, but is this really the force that will crush Lucifron and then carry the momentum into the turn player space? Because that's exactly what he needs at this point. It's not enough to just crush this army. He has to take all these spaces down, because Bly is the one who will be short on money.
That's right, Bly short on money. Lucifron with his 4th up has a 5th on the way as well if he needs to pick up and expand to the top left. A scan reveals 2 Infestors, a bunch of Lings. Lucifron says, what is that army? That is nothing. You cannot stop me now. And Siege is up in a fantastic position and is looking to claim victory.
He's moving in once again, those Vikings picking up overlords now. And Bly will be supply blocked in just a few seconds too. Now those Infestors come in, the Banelings are already on the move, the Fungals are good, but the supply, this is a numbers game, and this is a numbers game he can't win anymore.
GG. Lucifron takes up game number 1 of a potential 3, depending on how this series unravels. But a great start there for the Spanish player. And there's rumors surrounding Lucifron right now. Is he going to play full-time this year? That's a massive question.
I really hope so.
If he does well here, that could be a very good start if he was planning on doing something like that.
It was just such a straightforward game. He didn't leave himself open to anything, no run-bys. And Bly tried. He had so many attempts, but it really didn't work well for him. It was really well done. This is awesome.
Yeah. Great. There's Bly. Look at that. Bly not looking too comfortable there, is he? Well,
not really.
I guess we're going to have to ask our local experts and Jarrett Kale. I say and Jarrett Kale because there is an and in between that over there to find out how that game really went.
A dominant performance from Lucifron, keeps him alive in the group stage, makes me very happy. Very talented player. I hope we can see a few more games from him with hope in his eyes.
Yeah.
You want to walk us through that?
Pretty much what happened was Bly went for this big 2-base Roach speed timing. He also got Burrow. He even get +1 Carapace, +1 Missile. And I think maybe Bly in his head, he was thinking like, Lucifron always mechs. He always mechs. I'm going to like blind counter mech. Because that build is super, super strong against a meching player. And usually we saw TLO do a similar style with the speed Roaches and all that, but you won't get the plus Missile. And TLO got Burrow, maybe you don't get Burrow, whatever. But you commit a little less to it so that you can transition out of it a bit easier into Infestors, into a 4th base. And pretty much what happened was Bly overcommitted a bit to that Roach pressure, didn't get compensation, wasn't able to really eco as hard as he wanted onto his 3rd base. Ecos were about similar, and then as we can see in the replay here, kind of the deciding battle of this game.
Yeah, like, that was some crazy macro here.
Yep. So, coming up here, this is Lucifron's 2-2 timing. You can see that it's about to happen in about 14 seconds. This is Lucifron's 2-2 timing. Sorry. You can see that it's about to happen in about Bly's army is pretty small right now, relative to what it could be. He's floating a lot of minerals, but not very much gas. His Infestors have a decent amount of energy, but he doesn't have any Banelings, and he also only has +1. So those are really significant factors in terms of how effective his army can be. So as we see, Lucifron's proceeding slowly. He doesn't want to fight without siege mode. Getting up close, wants to spread his units out a little bit to not get fungled. And now this is the main battle. If Bly had the extra resources to make some Banelings, which he's got some money now, but he was kind of lacking it earlier, maybe fungled a little bit better here, he would have been okay, he would have been able to defend this. But at this point, this is a significant enough army and a significant advantage for Lucifron to basically keep Bly on 3 bases, keep the economies even, and then all he has to do is figure out what hive tech he goes for and counter it. And that's what he did. And
he didn't have the Baneling Nest, you see?
Yeah, which is just not, you absolutely want Banelings, speed Banes. Maybe Bly thought he could cut that corner in order to catch back up, I'm not really sure, but very significant.
He didn't have to engage this early either. He could have maybe waited a bit more. Like, he was trying to engage before the tanks can get sieged in position, obviously, but if he waited more, he could have had a lot more supply. Imagine if 4 more injects finish. That's so many lavas.
It's definitely true that he could have waited to get additional units, but at the same time,
You should
really,
have been behind supply-wise.
I mean, if you can catch the tanks on siege, that's usually enough. Usually at that point, like it doesn't, you don't want to, you'd rather have the tanks unsieged than an additional round of production most of the time. And
Not this time.
No, not this time. No.
Okay.
Without the +2 attack for the same level upgrades, without any banelings, and then for whatever reason his fungals in that battle just weren't what they needed to be, and then it kind of snowballed from there.
The next map is Daybreak. What are the odds we're going to see some of his infamous mech play?
I think this is, if there was a single map in the series, actually Entombed is pretty good for mech too. So if there was 2 maps in the series where I would say he would probably mech on, the first one would be Daybreak and the second one would be Entombed. So kind of like I mentioned earlier, as a Zerg player, you have kind of 4 bases that are relatively close to each other. The 5th base is not too hard to take usually. As a meching Terran player, the same holds true. Your army's not very mobile, kind of from the get-go, basically once roaches hit the field and you have to use tanks and banshees and Thors to defend them. And so having those easily accessible 4 bases or even 5 bases makes meching a lot easier to do on this map.
All right, I'll give you a quick score update from the other games while we get this game ready. Mana defeating Siphon 2-0, Siphon eliminated, and I think winless. Parting was up 1-0 against Tefl last I heard. That might be over by now. And Moonglade and Grubby were in game 2 with Moonglade up 1-0, taking the first game. So that's what's happening elsewhere. I think the game's almost loaded. Are we in there?
We are close. We are very close.
Well, one more game for Lucifron. He's alive.
He can do it.
He loses this game.
I
and he's
believe
out.
in him.
I believe in him too. That was a solid performance, and I think someone hit it. Might have been you. He was mad.
He was mad.
He was angry, and he owned some ass there, man. He really
Lucifron.
did. He did.
Si se puede.
Sure. Totally. Babcha Jaju. All right. We're going to pass it over to our awesome casters. Please enjoy the next game. See you soon.
Thank you very much, Jarrett and QXC and Todd. Excellent analysis once again, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of that over the next few days.
Yeah, we definitely will. And now we're heading into game number 2. We have Lucifron up against Bly, and this is the second game. This time we're on Daybreak.
That's right, we're on Daybreak. Could we see mech, or is Lucifron going to use a similar style, or exactly the same style as we just saw? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to load into the game and see what's going to develop.
Which is going to happen in like a second or two. But Daybreak definitely one of those big maps that we have where if you don't go for mech, if you just play a bio style, it can lend itself to a very, very, very long game. And while talking about the match, we have to the top right in red now our Terran player for Current Gaming. It is Lucifron. And starting to the bottom left of the map, in blue, we have his opponent, Asus Bly.
And of course, both of these players do use social networking.
Yeah.
Where can you find them, Kaldor?
Well, Bly is, as you can already see on the, it's actually the same name of production, just switched the overlay. He's at Bly on Twitter, and if you want to check out Lucifron, then you have to look at him at Current Lucifron. And of course, you can also at you,
Yes, I'm at Kaldor on Twitter.
I think
You'll
I need another
find
coffee.
me topless.
What?
If you want to look at me, I'm at Kaldor. You'll find me topless. I recently shaved my head and I went to the gym yesterday.
Exactly, and on the other hand, I'm at Apollo SC2, so definitely check that out as well. I suddenly grew hair.
And it went ginger, and you're really, really skinny.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, so this next game, of course, very important for Lucifron to survive within this tournament. Currently 1 win, 2 losses.
Yep.
If somehow, some way, this was to go the other way for him, he'd be finding himself 1 win, 3 losses, and pretty much out the tournament. So, of course, a must-win for him. And likewise for Bly, it's not a must-win, but if he was to lose, he'd go 2-2, and he still has to play his last game. And with that win, maybe he could do well. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Bly's last game is going to be against Parting, because I don't think they've played yet. No, they did. They played first of all, so at least that's out the way. So that would leave Mana left, and that's a difficult last game to put him on.
Yep.
So very important for both players. I mean, every game is important at this stage of the tournament.
Exactly. At this stage in the group, you want to win as many maps as possible. It's not only about the match score in general, but also about how many maps you are able to take from your opponent without losing any on your own. So right now we have for Lucifron another expansion coming up. We have the command center on the tab. Bly already about to complete his own hatch. Went for the hatch at 15, started the pull later on. But he's about to lose an Overlord. The Overlord just able to get away. That's going to be really close.
Look at that. It does just get away. One hit, probably, I think that was, on that Overlord. Or at least a couple of hits, and it does fall down. 6 slings are being made, which is a little bit weird. You don't really see 6 slings being made, so we'll see what these 6 are going to do. If he's going to try and get to Lucifron before a bunker's down, or trying to catch him a bit out of position, whether it be a misclick or not. And without a bunker, though, these 6 slings could do something, but he's only sending... Is he sending all 6? No, there's the other 2. Sorry, I couldn't quite see.
They're a little bit late, a little bit slower than the other ones. Those 4 initial ones are really, really eager to get the fight started. But
yeah, but 4 Marines, these 6 slings aren't going to do anything, really. So I'm not exactly certain on why the 6 slings were built. I think it's a little bit waste. I think you probably could have gone with 2. It's going to achieve the same thing as you know, what these are going to do now, because those 4 Marines are going to push these back in. It could have been a gamble at the same time. You know, there are a lot of options where you can be like, well, is Lucifron going to build 4 Marines, or is it just going to be 1? Is he going to have a bunker and 1 Marine, or without a bunker and 1 Marine?
In a situation like this, if you don't really have a lot of Marines, there are only 2, then suddenly you are in trouble. You have maybe even to lift your commands, and you certainly have to pull your SCVs off. So Bly with the slight gamble here, it doesn't work out for him. Lucifron has the Marines ready, pushes him back, and now Bly is just using those units to control the map, have those 2 Zalaga watchtowers ready that he can scout whenever Lucifron is leaving his base. And one of the things that Bly does, in contradiction to what he did on the first game, he gets very, very early gas this time. Double gas in his main base already.
Yeah, we could see a pretty fast lay. Could be trying to blind counter any Hellion Banshee builds. If you go straight up to lay and straight up to Mutalisk, we'll see as the Overlord makes its way in and spots the barracks with a tech lab. Is going to see the factory and reactor and then the starport, so he knows exactly what's going on here. And it looks like those lings were gifted away. A couple of them do just die. And 2, gonna squeeze in here. And if they get an SCV kill, is he gonna get it? He does get an SCV kill, and not a second one, but that makes them a bit more worth it.
And the Hellions retreated, so he didn't actually rely on the Marines alone to kill those 2 Zerglings, but he pulled the Hellions back, and now Bly, of course, knows what's going on. He saw them earlier already with the vision of the Zalnaga Watchtower. And Bly is heading into a faster attack once again. We have the lair on the production tab, double evolution chamber at the front to set up the wall, and speed is now also being researched. A 3rd base going down here, and this is something that Lucifron can't really kill. He has those Hellions, but the Hellions are only good against the drones. Nice micro once again. I really love how he uses the Hellions to take down the creep tumors that he spotted earlier.
Yeah, really solid play once again by Lucifron, but now Lucifron needs to make a decision. He should be looking to throw down a 3rd command center, but then what is he going to do next? Does he get all 4 gases? Is he going to add on more barracks? He hasn't actually added on anything to the original barracks. He hasn't started researching stim or anything along those lines, and we'll see what's it going to be. The 3rd command center starts on his natural ramp. Hellions making their way around at the same time, multitasking, looking at different options, trying to break through, kill a creature, kill a queen if he can.
Yeah, but he won't. Those Hellions are trying, but there's just too much energy on the others. They could also transfuse. But here come those Banshees, and we have even Cloak being researched for Lucifron, something that Bly is already reacting to. But first of all, he has to deal with this, and there's no transfuse. Didn't have the energy after all. The Queen is dead, and here come the Zerglings, but a nice position for the Terran player, pushing Bly back, and suddenly all those Lings are gone.
Is he going to go in with these Hellions? I don't think he should. He's done enough damage as it is. Did lose the Banshee, a little bit unfortunate. Probably should have sent that towards the main base or something. So a little bit of a mishap there, but still okay as we see the infestation pit coming down. And there's the double engineering base. So it is going to be Bio once again from Lucifron. Probably, most likely, the most efficient attack you can do as Terran is always going to be around 2-2. We saw how well it worked previously, and that's most likely what Lucifron's going to be aiming towards again.
But there's a big difference to the first game, because this time it's Bly who's ahead of the upgrades. He's already halfway done with his armor upgrade, and attack is nearly completed. So Lucifron very late with his upgrades compared to game number 1, and Bly this time not investing any gas to go for the +1 range upgrade. Extra Queens are now coming out. He doesn't know how many of those Banshees are going to be built by Lucifron. And still the 3rd base, uncontested by his opponent.
Yeah, and we are going to see Lucifron move in. He's got a Banshee, he's got a couple of Hellions. Could get a couple of drone kills here. And there's no detection, there's no Overseer, there's no Spore Crawler. The Banshee gets 3 kills on the drones. This is such a good start for Lucifron.
Yeah, so far Lucifron hasn't shown his cloak, and now he does. Another Queen is under pressure. He's taking down. Here comes the Overseer, and now the Banshee, of course, in trouble. Tries to retreat and is actually able to get away.
Ooh,
just
gets away
barely.
with that Banshee in. Can always come in again, can regenerate cloak,
Yep.
can poke in, kill infestors, kill drones, whatever he chooses. So this is a really good game from Lucifron. You know, he's able to slow down this creep spread. He's doing damage, but unfortunately Bly, with a bit of a counter in terms of slowing each other down, has got the Overlord that it is spitting out creep, spewing out creep, and that will delay that command center from landing the right time that Lucifron wanted it to be.
Does a really good job there, and he already has the Queens in position as the Banshee's trying to approach. +1/+1 now nearly completed for Lucifron. He's moving in with the Hellions again, trying to do some damage, take down a creep to maybe 2, damaging that Queen already, so the Banshees can now swoop in and do damage, but he doesn't really use them. It was his chance to take down the Banshee, then the anti-air is gone, and he can maybe even get a few additional drone kills off. Wasn't really able to hit that, and Bly at the same time, he's not too affected by all this pressure. Well, he's kind of affected, but he still goes for the +2/+2. The bigger problem I feel is that he's once again heavily supply blocked, has to build 4 additional Overlords before he can produce additional units.
And look at the resources in the top right for Lucifron, guys. He's almost at 1,000 minerals, but so little in gas. And that's because the third base isn't down. He needs the gas there to actually continue to build tanks, to add on extra factories, to keep his minerals low. And unfortunately for Lucifron, upon losing those Banshees, he hasn't gotten the refinery yet. And that seems to be his downfall here. But in terms of supply, Lucifron's still doing extraordinarily well.
And that's never the position where you want to be in as a Zerg player. Down in supply, but Bly's still ahead in bases. And I really like his tech with a +2/+2, a lot faster than for Lucifron. So if the Terran player tries to hit this timing once again, then he will suddenly face a Zerg player that is at least on even upgrades. And the Infestor count for Bly is just increasing rapidly. He's at 4, going into 6. He wants to use them for the Fungals, also to buy himself some time to go into the higher tech. Hive is nearly completed, and he also doesn't skimp on the drones, because at this point, he's really far behind the Harvesters.
Lucifron's thrown down a 4th command center pretty fast here. And we'll see if he's going to try and attempt to hit his 2-2 timing, because if he does, I feel that Bly's a lot more set up for it than ever before, including the last game. Like you said, 10 Infestors, 2-2 upgrades this time. He's at Hive, he has Adrenal Glands on the way.
But do you know what I really think is pretty awesome for Lucifron is that the creep spread for Bly is relatively bad. And this is a result of those Hellions working at the creep tumors the entire time and him just pushing those Queens back. So that was something that Lucifron really worked for.
Oh, there's no combat shields on these Marines. No combat shields at this stage of the game, and he's waiting for, obviously, for his stim. His stim is incredibly late as well. And if any attack comes in here without stim or combat shields, Lucifron could be in a bit of trouble here, but luckily for him, Bly doesn't know about that. But look at the fast Ultralisk cavern here. That's going to finish coming in at the 15-minute mark. He's going to have Ultralisk very, very shortly. It's a fast 3-base, high play, fast 3-base Ultralisks. And they could be a big surprise to Lucifron. But those 3 additional barracks, depending on what he's seen, I'm going to have a look. They may be 4 additional tech labs. I would hope they are.
He needs Marauders later on when he realizes that there are Ultralists in the game. That's definitely for sure. But at this point, Lucifron is just trying to drop. And the drop might reveal the tech of Bly, but it doesn't look like those Marines are going to have a good time there. The Zerglings are in position. A good fungal for Bly at the same time. All those Marines were clumped up. Lucifron focusing on the drop, didn't see it. And now suddenly, Bly is trying to close that gap in supply. And with all the extra minerals and gas that he has, he can now go into 3 Ultralisks already. He's going to produce more. Even Adrenal Glands is going to be finished really soon.
I don't know how Lucifron knows, but he does know it's Ultralisk. He hasn't scanned, he hasn't seen anything, but he has additional tech labs and he's building Marauders. I don't know if this just is specifically because, no, actually, he doesn't know at all. He's building 3 starports as well. He's just preparing in every angle because he doesn't know. So he's adding on additional starports. He is building Marauders too. He's just building an all-round better composition to deal with whatever comes because he isn't sure.
3 starports is actually a bit crazy. That is a lot. With the gas that he has, he will barely be able to afford all those extra Vikings. But now suddenly we have another run-by attempt to the bottom left. The Zerglings already pursuing the Marines. No chance for them to do damage. And Bly is now closing the gap in supply.
Oh, Borrowed Infestor within the tank range here. Could launch a bunch of Infestor tanks, and they do. And the tanks start to do damage to themselves. But Bly not looking to move in with his army at the right time. So a bit disconnected of an attack now. But the Ultralists are out. They're there. There's no combat shield yet. It's about to finish.
And I like that Bly didn't commit yet, because he can't. He doesn't have continuous plating, he doesn't have +3/+3. He has to sacrifice the 4th base. There's just no other way. If he moves into this Terran army without all these upgrades, it's going to be very difficult for him to win if Lucifron shows the same micro that he displayed in game number 1.
And a nice little run by. Oh, hold that thought. The Infestor sees the unsiege of these tanks, and Bly's going to move in, and the units get bungled, and the tanks get trapped without siege mode.
And here come the Marines trying to save the day, trying to save whatever's left, but they can't do a lot. The tanks are gone, and now suddenly the Zerglings at the 4th base trying to take down the Planetary.
Oh, it's close, but it's not close enough. The SCVs managed to repair it, but now at the same time, Bly with a fierce force moving in the center of the map, but tanks in a great position on the high ground there. Now the Planetary Fortress is done. It does fortify that area a little bit more.
But +3/+3 just completed. And if Bly is going to choose this time to attack, then Lucifron will be in trouble. He's behind in upgrades. He has a really tough time here, but with the Planetary, Bly doesn't really feel too confident. He wants to set his units up a bit differently, and he also goes for the double hatch now, expanding for the 4th and the 5th time.
And in professional StarCraft, guys, you have to make decisions on the fly, spot decisions. Bly made his decision, do I attack or do I not? And he said, if I attack, I run the risk of going 0-2 if it doesn't work and I'm out. Let me expand and let me look for a better opportunity. And that's not the best opportunity I can get against Lucifron. And that decision could be a game-winning one, depending on how this goes.
Suddenly the wall is breached, the Zergling running into the 3rd, and Lucifron has to get into a good position, but his tanks, well, he doesn't get them into the spot where he wants them, has to siege them up again, but the Zergling's already doing a lot of damage, 15 Harvesters killed in total, and a couple of Lings running into the natural, even into the main base, but Lucifron pays attention, lifts his depots, really well done, but still this is definitely very difficult and very annoying for him to deal with.
And the point I brought up before, I'm so happy that Bly decided to look for a better opportunity, because he started to make that happen. That run by was exactly what he needed, but Lucifron here dropping the 5th base, that's a very good drop considering the amount of pressure he's under. Is he going to be able to get that down? He scans, he knows they're coming. Is he going to get it? The hatchery is incredibly low. He picks up last minute. He isn't going to attempt to try to bring it down. Of course, he can attempt later on, but a nice attempt there. The Great Inspire transition is in. That's the opportunity that Bly is looking for. 7 Corruptors are on the way. If he can get there,
Bottom right, more and more Zerglings. Sorry to cut you off there. Killing SCV after SCV. He took down so many of them. He took down another 15 Harvesters there.
Oh, and a massive fungal at the same time. Bly is making this happen here. And as you said, bring down a lot of SCVs, getting a great fungal on that army. And now the Great Aspire is ready. There are no Vikings. There's obviously starports to build the Vikings, but there's no anti-air yet. Lucifron has not anticipated the tech switch yet. And if Bly can just buy enough time, get the Brutals out, destroy the army, or at least push the army back and then go for a counter-attack himself before the Vikings are out, Bly very well could have found that very opportunity to win this game.
Lucifron was at 75 to 80 Harvesters. He lost so many to Bly, but he never tried to rebuild the SCVs. He completely relying on the 48-6 that he still has available on the mules and maxed out his army again, which leaves him at 150 army supply against 120. And now he's already in a good position with his upgrades. But those run-bys of Bly, they are so annoying for him to deal with. Yes, Bly loses his 4th base, but at the same time, Lucifron is losing supply depots, Harvesters, tanks, all the reinforcements. This is just so annoying.
Bly is giving up that center base. He decided to wait until the Brutals are ready. That means he doesn't have a good income. He has a great army, but not a good income. So it's all going to be down to the engagements. Can Bly engage right? Can he get a cost-efficient engagement out? Can he make sure that he smashes the army before Lucifron can reinforce with the Viking, the fleet of the Air Force?
There is only one Viking at this point, Apollo. Only one. He's building 7 at a time, but right now he just doesn't have the anti-air. And those tanks, they try to retreat, and they have to. Suddenly, Bly is chasing his opponent away. If those Ultralists are getting a piece of the cake, then I feel that Lucifron is not going to win this battle.
We'll see the Brutals getting in once again, but as you said, 7 Vikings per cycle. Lucifron's the one trying to buy time now. If 7 Vikings per cycle come, there's no Corruptors, there's no anti-air, and Lucifron could very well turn this fight around.
We have 7 Infestors. Will the Fungals be enough in the Infestor chance to take the Vikings down? They're trying to get into position. So far, a lot of energy on the Infestors, but no Fungal drop. He's trying to just lure them into range, but not gonna happen just yet. Bly trying to expand once, twice, 3 times, and now we even have the armor upgrade for his air units.
Yes, it's a very good game once again, and we see Lucifron denying that base over there. Bly's income has just halted for the time being. He has a decent amount of money in the bank for this second, but without these mining bases, or at least the main base mined out natural as well, and no further large amount of money to be able to mine from.
And
this
talking
could get
about money,
difficult.
Bly with such a bank, he has 1,000 gas, 2,000 minerals. But here comes Lucifron, this time with all the Vikings, with the Viking power that we talked about earlier, 15 in total. And he's trying to get a good angle against the Broodlords. There are only 3 left though. The Ultralisks on the ground, that's a big problem for
This
Lucifron.
is a good position for Lucifron. Those tanks surrounded by Marauders and Marines at the back. Lucifron may have constructed the right army to bring down the Swarm, to bring down the Ultralisks. They're taking damage, and Bly doesn't want to engage there. It's a terrible position to engage, but what choice does he have now? What is he going to aim towards? He's moved all his Ultralisks down south. He's trying to mine down there. He's going to have to give up position in the middle of the map. The Ultralisks are going for a counterattack in the middle. Maybe they can bring down the Pirate Tree, but Lucifron's already there. He's already back from one end to the other in a split second.
Look at the damage output of the Marauders and Marines, and Lucifron, he's going for it. Bly for a split second, doesn't know what to do. He thinks, well, can I retreat? If he stims again, then he'll just hunting me down. He turns around, tries to fight the army, and suddenly Bly drops in supply. He lost 8 of his Ultralisks with this attempt to kill the base of Lucifron.
Lucifron is playing such a good game at the moment, denying another base at the south, drops at the top left as well, and now he's marching towards victory, is very close towards gaining this victory, gaining a 2-0 over Bly, bringing his tournament back to life if he's able to do this right here, and he looks like he can.
This army is insane, and here comes Bly with the last stand moving in. Great bundles as the entire army of Lucifron is clustered up, but there's just not enough damage output for Bly. He drops in supply. Lucifron takes those units apart. Broodlord after Broodlord dying to the Vikings here, and the ground army for Lucifron is still alive.
Little by little, Lucifron has won this game. All we need now is one further stretch. 9 Infestors is the last thing Bly can do, but behind this, there's command centers left and right. The income is amazing, the amount of money that Lucifron can still have here. The Fungals come in to try to slow these Vikings down, but Lucifron is on victory march here.
Lucifron, he tastes the blood and he's going for it. He's taking down base after base. Bly is in trouble. He's trying to make something happen with the Infestors, but they're just not enough. He doesn't have the DPS at this point. The third base is just no challenge for Lucifron anymore. The army of Bly is already gone. The army supply for Lucifron still up at 122, and these are the last seconds for Bly in this best of 3.
That is right. The third base goes down, and this is definitely over now. A struggle to it. 2 Ultralisks trying to be made, but 164 supply for Lucifron. He's fought hard in game 1, harder in game 2, and now has saved, as mentioned, his tournament life. The scan goes down to kill the last of the Infestors, and Lucifron, what a good series from him.
Bly with a great performance, but in this best of 3, Lucifron just was the better player. His patience and also his positioning won him the game. GG, well played, and Lucifron takes it with a 2-0 against Bly.
A great game from Lucifron, a fantastic series from Lucifron. And, you know, we spoke about it before. Grubby said it in interviews. Sometimes players need a kick in the balls. They're not playing well, and all of a sudden when you're faced with your tournament to be over, you all of a sudden kick into gear. And we could see Lucifron just beast up the rest of this tournament if he continues on in good shape, as we just saw.
He really impressed in the last best of 3, and Bly, of course, not happy with the loss here, with the 2 not winning a single map. He has to be really, well, impressing in the next game if he wants to get out of this group. And we're kicking things back to the analysis desk, and let's see what QXC, Todd, and Jared have to say about the game on Daybreak.
Karante Lucifron keeps his hopes alive with the 2-0 victory that he needed. Great game. A series of small victories snowballed in the beginning, led to what I thought was a sure victory for him. Only to have Bly stage a huge comeback, then take a lead, make Lucifron make a comeback, but ultimately producing 7 Vikings at a time, shut down all the Broodlords and let him take the win. Well, let's start with the snowballs. Do you want to get into replay? And how did that all begin?
Yeah, I mean, Lucifron, so he opened with the 1-Rex expand, fast Hellions, Banshees, and then he has kind of this early timing. It's not so much of a timing as it is like just a pressure. It's supposed to just poke and take advantage if your opponent is a little off guard, if your opponent's not really paying attention. And hold on. So in the replay, we can see this timing. It's like a couple of Hellions, the first Banshee, a couple of Marines. And we see Bly, the first Queen, caught a little out of position. The Hellions doing some damage here. I don't know. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. So in the replay here, we do see the 6 Hellions, 4 Marines, 1 Banshee. Boom. Bly doesn't really have a lot of units right now, and the first Queen took a couple extra hits, more than it needed to. The Spine Crawler, or the Spore Crawler here isn't done. There is no Spine Crawler, and so this push is able to do a fair amount of damage. He takes out 1 Queen right away. Boom. Almost gets the second one. Forces a bunch of Lings, is able to kill a lot of Speedlings here, and snipes another Queen here. And basically what this does is it puts Bly in a really awkward position now. He's only got 2 Queens. He wants to use both of them for constant injects. When this third hatchery pops, he's not going to have a third Queen to be able to inject right away. And his creep spread is also going to be really, really poor for quite a while because he's not going to have that extra energy to spend on those larvae.
I like the unit count of Lucifron, by the way, here. Very simple.
It's quite good. We don't play around here. We don't play games. We don't use equations. We make SCVs. We make Hellions. That's it. So we're gonna fast forward the replay into a different scene, and pretty much what this early pressure allowed Lucifron to do then, like you said, is a snowball effect. Is Bly's creep spread is weaker, so his map presence is weaker. He's not able to drone his third as early or as hard because he's not having injects there right away. He's not able to establish his 4th and his 5th base early enough, or as early as he would like because there's no creep spread out there. And all of this combines into kind of a situation where Lucifron is just very ahead in supply, very ahead in position, and he has a lot of good opportunities for timing attacks. As we saw in a lot of the other TVZs, 2-2 timings are super important in this matchup. Hitting before HiveTech is able to come out, hitting before Ultralisk Broodlords are able to make a presence on the field is so important to actually making something happen. So go ahead and pause right now. This is a good place to go into it. So this is kind of the aftermath, not the aftermath, but this is what Lucifron's 2-2 timing was able to do in this game. He establishes a dominant position on the map, is able to clear out most of these creep tumors, denies the 4th base, does not allow this top left base to happen. And so basically, instead of, in a lot of the other games that we saw, a lot of the other TVZs where Zerg is saturating their 3rd base before Terran, is able to double expand into a 4th and a 5th base, and then is basically 1 step ahead of Terran. Terran's playing catch-up. They're taking their 4th after Zerg has already established their 4th. And in this game, because of the snowball effect, because of this push being able to be so effective, we see Lucifron is establishing his 4th before Zerg is even able to do any of that. And then there's this battle here where Lucifron gets basically the 2-2 timing is mostly, the Burrowed Infestor here. And this is really key to why this push is able to happen at this timing where Lucifron's not ready. Without that Burrowed Infestor, Bly doesn't know. The 2-2 push is basically designed, kill the 4th, then back up, regroup, and push again. And so Lucifron's going back, he's going to go home for a little bit, and this is where things start to get a little scary for Lucifron. He loses most of his tanks, Ultralisk doing pretty good, but he still has an economic lead in that his 4th is already established. He does actually keep this alive with the SCVs repairing and whatnot, and he has a bunch of tanks back here. This is kind of why you're regrouping, is you want to reestablish with the rest of your army back home. So we're going to fast forward to one more point in this game where Lucifron is able to actually clinch the win, because as you said, it did get fairly dicey.
3 distinct stages to the game.
Yeah. And one thing that, like you said with the 7 Vikings at a time, one thing that was interesting to note here is that as HiveTech was coming, because Lucifron was a little bit ahead in economy, he had a little bit extra money to get the infrastructure he needed to deal with that HiveTech. Ultralisks were coming out, Lucifron had 3 or 4 starports ready. If it was Broodlords, he would have been able to deal with it no problem. And the only reason he seemed caught off guard by Broodlords is because there's no reason to build Vikings until the Broodlords are on the field. Until you know your opponent has them, Vikings are just going to make your army weaker. If he had committed to those preemptive Vikings and Bly had stuck to Ultralisk, he would have been in a really bad position. And so having those 4 starports when that tech switch happened by Bly, and then having that superior economy allowed him to transition very, very quickly. Okay, this is good. Let's go into the replay, into this extremely powerful unit composition against what Bly was doing. 15 Vikings here. You have plenty of siege tanks. These help zone out the infestors and also do help clear out kind of the speedlings. And in this case, there are no banelings, but normally it would be useful there as well. And so at this point, Bly's army really just can't get close. As long as he sieges the tanks far enough ahead so that the infestors can't fungal the Vikings, the Broodlords can't force an unsiege because Lucifron has air superiority at this point. Bly realizes this. He starts sending his army around. This is kind of when we saw a lot of Ultralists dying. Again, Lucifron is able to deny this 4th, keeping Bly on lower number of bases than he wants. And this is really where the game, Lucifron's in a good position at this point, and Bly throws away a whole bunch of Ultralists. And from there, Bly's fate is basically sealed. There's no way for him to come back at that point. A really good game by Lucifron.
One of the most fun games today that I've watched. Maybe the most fun game today. Really, really enjoyed that. There wasn't even a Protoss in it. So it says a lot about the quality of the play. Next up, Lucifron is alive. He did what he needed to do, got the 2-0, but he's still got a tough road. His next opponent is Parting. We're going to have that on the B stream. That's no easy task for him. Our next game coming up is Mana versus Bly, which gives Mana the chance to clinch and move on if he defeats Bly. Even if he doesn't defeat Bly, he's still got a very good chance moving on.
Yeah, I think he would pass as 3rd place at the very worst with 3-2 score.
Yes.
Probably.
All right, I'm going to give a quick score update before we go to a commercial and get started on our next game. As of the last time I've been updated, Moonglade and Grubby were tied 1-1. Grubby taking the second game.
Moonglade has actually defeated Grubby 2-1.
All right. Moonglade has defeated Grubby 2-1. TLO defeated Snoot 2-1. Sake defeated Verdi 2-1. And Yoda was up 1-0 on Juktu.
And Parting
getting
hasn't
closer
lost a
now.
map.
It's great. What's
Parting
that?
hasn't lost a map yet in his tournament.
Yeah, Parting has not dropped a single map. And he's about as dominant as we expected.
Yep.
He could take it all. I don't know.
It's possible.
Guess we'll see. Can a Polish player stop him?
I hope so.
I hope so too. All right. Please don't go anywhere. Quick commercial. More StarCraft 2.